Welcome everybody to our talk about product-led growth in SaaS. Obviously, it's a very broad topic, way too much to cover in one session. So today we focus specifically on the coexistence of product-led growth and other growth models, and whether that is possible or even advisable. We will be covering other PLG related topics in the coming months, so stay tuned to our post. And as you know, we have two fantastic guests giving their views on the topic. We thought that a mix of a startup and an investor view will provide good contrast and also be very good for your questions later on in the session. So about the agenda. We start with quick intros, and during those the intros, Teemu will briefly outline the central themes of PLG so that we are on the same page on what we will be discussing. And Jaakko will then, during his intro, tell us about Leadfeeder, the product, its stage, the customer segments, and about its growth models, how they were set up and evolved. And this will provide you a great or good context on how he will be answering the questions and his views on them. And after that, after the intros, I have some topics I want to cover here. We will drill down into them. And after those, I will open the floor for questions. So the way we're going to thinking of doing it is that you can submit those questions in the Q&A box, and then other people can upvote or downvote them, and then we will be running them in order. And also we can use the raise hand feature if there will be follow-on questions or other additional questions. So let's see, we're 43 now, so I think we can start with the gist here. So let's get me out of the way first. I'm Jupe Arala, and I'm sure you were thinking about the quality of this intro that I'm a professional show host, but no, I'm just an investor. I'm from Vendep Capital, and we invest in the best B2B SaaS companies, mostly in Nordics and Baltics. We invest before the A round, typically at a stage when the company has MRR between 20 and 100K. And we have about 20 companies across 2 funds in our portfolio, and naturally looking for more. So feel free to contact us if you think we're a mutual fit. That's that. So let's get started. Teemu, why don't you go ahead and tell us about yourself a little bit and lead us gently into the world of product-led growth.
Happy to do so. Thanks so much for having me. So I'm an investor at Vendep Capital, which is a SaaS-focused VC fund based here in London, and we got an office in San Francisco as well. And I would say the 2 key things that we strive to be helpful with portfolio companies is recruiting and then go-to-market strategies. And related to those go-to-market strategies, PLG is a topic that I have been excited about for past few years, and I have been learning a lot from, for example, from the ex-CMO of Slack and Zendesk, who is on the board of GetAccept, which is one of our portfolio companies. So getting good learnings from him. So in a nutshell, PLG. And there are a lot of different definitions, and this is just for me. But how I think about PLG, it is a go-to-market strategy where the product is an integral part of that motion. So what do I mean by that is that product is basically part of each of these cross-functional teams that are targeting towards one part of the end user journey. So for example, for acquisition, you will have marketing and product and tech, and then conversion, expansion, and so on. So product is basically integral part of each of these cross-functional teams that are focusing on optimizing that specific KPI or that target along the buying cycle of that end user. And usually with PLG companies, they have this framework, this kind of like flywheel framework behind them. And I think HubSpot introduced this a few years ago, and AppQs as another great example of this flywheel. But in a nutshell, it's driving those new evaluators of the product, which convert to new beginners, which convert to regulars, and then which convert to champions. And the key here is that those champions then promote the product to the new evaluators and kind of like get that flywheel spinning. And that is kind of like that is beautiful way to scale the organic and the word of mouth channel. And I think the key differences between more traditional sales-led or marketing-led go-to-market motions and PLG are like, first, I think the key one is that with traditional marketing-led go-to-market motions, the product engagement by the end user usually happens only after that account or that company becomes a customer. But whereas with PLG, the acquisition team is driving new visitors directly into the product. So there's a big difference there, like when the product engagement starts to happen. And then there's a big focus on end user versus buyer, like another big difference between these two models. And I would say the last key one is that onboarding experience and relatedly NPS are kind of like mission critical for fundamentally PLG driven companies, which are also important and relevant for traditional sales at the marketing led companies, but not to that extent that they are for PLG. And if I think about like from investors' perspective, like why I am excited about PLG is that, like if I think about the B2B buyer universe, roughly 50% of all the B2B buyers, like of the workforce, is millennials. And this is a demographic, like, and that's going to grow to like 75% in the next 5 years. And this is a demographic that is getting exposed to Instagram-like UX experiences on an hourly basis. And that is just setting up significant benchmark to any application or any software that this demographic is using. And I'm not saying that sales-led or marketing-led go-to-market approaches, there wouldn't be room for that, but I'm just seeing that this segment of that B2B buyer universe is growing at significantly faster pace, and it's just a little bit more interesting compared to the latter, the former. And other points are that like PLG, if done successfully, it just allows for those above benchmark growth rates throughout the life cycle of a company. So not just at the early stage, but also at scale. And then another point that I think is a bit of overlooked, and this is from my standpoint, that if you have like NPS of +60 or 70 and truly like successful PLG strategy, then that is for me, that is a like sustainable competitive advantage. And I'm rating that really highly in my like investment framework. And lastly, like PLG, if done well, it just allows for like stellar unit economics, which is another end goal per se, but it's just like if you have those kind of stellar unit economics, it allows you to do more, like it allows you to have more strategic flexibility in terms of going aggressively after that one specific market segment with like lower pricing, because you can do that, or you have the flexibility, or then prioritizing like longer term product investments to build defensibility in the product. So those are the key things, like why I feel that this is a like really interesting shift in the B2B buyer universe, and in terms of like different go-to-market strategies. And as a last point, and then I will wrap. But in terms of our portfolio, there are 2 companies that are doing the shift as we speak, and I know that 2 are thinking of doing the shift in the next 6 months. And it's like PLG is a topic that is being discussed at the board level in all of our SaaS portfolio companies. So it's a really timely and relevant topic. But I will give it back to Jupe, I guess.
Yes, thank you. That's a hefty package. Seems I chose the right guest here. And then Jaakko, intro yourself and Lead Feeder product. stage so that we understand from where your views and answering comes from. And a small disclosure, Leadfeeder is our portfolio company, so he had no chance but to say yes to this talk. So we're good to go.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Jupe, and good to be here. Hopefully can provide some helpful insights into how we have been doing things at Leadfeeder. So I'm Jaakko, I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at the company. I look over our revenue generation throughout sales, customer success, support, and partnerships teams, and work heavily together with product and marketing teams also. Leadfeeder is a B2B intent data tool that provides leads from your website and different kind of sales signals for B2B companies that the sales team should act on. We are roughly at 550K MRR at the moment, growing pretty well, and roughly 85 people at the company at the moment. So I joined the company a little under 5 years ago when we were around four people at the company. And back then, the revenue model was heavily driven by inbound and product, which means that we have heavy inbound marketing channel, and then we have a free trial and a free product in the Leadfeeder tool. And it was a 30-day free trial back then, which then dropped to free pool, which allowed us to create referrals and customers to get more extended free trial if they share links in social media. And that's how we initially got into a bit of like a viral loop back then. After that, and that was supported always by our customer support team, which served both our companies who are testing the tool, but also those who became customers. And that was basically serving together with the product, the whole onboarding experience. As we grew bigger, we started hiring inbound sales team, which means that we then started serving these trials that came in to no touch pool and to salespeople, depending on the quality, and we used lead scoring basically for that to decide whether this goes to product onboarding fully no touch way, or should a salesperson be in touch with them. And as we grew more and more forward, we started bringing agency partnership model as one revenue channel, and then the last bits have been also bringing outbound sales operation on top of all of these channels, which is something that we can discuss later. It's basically was said that it really can't be done, which are with our price points, that they would be too low, that we should only focus on no-touch product-led growth, but we kind of choose to do both. So interested to chat about those. I have a viewpoint that it's much easier to build this so that you first have more like PLG kind of model with inbound driven sales, and then bring outbound sales on top of that as you grow, maybe up market or bring more features to your product. Whereas if you start with heavy outbound sales led operation where the product is not too much involved, and then try to make the switch. So I think that's something we can take a look at later on. But yeah, glad to be here. I think this shall be a good discussion with Teemu and Jupe.
Nice, thank you. Great journey made with Leadfeeder so far. Also, forgot to mention the fourth head showing here is Teemu, our one of my colleagues at Vendep, and he's thanks to him for orchestrating, say, the back office of this webinar. So
my pleasure, Jupe.
So let's jump right in. Teemu, interesting that you immediately went into mentioning enterprise in connection with product-led growth models, which I always thought that is more towards non-enterprise. So on that, what kind of companies do you think are best suited for a product-led growth model? So how does a startup know if they should opt for that? Do you have any advice on that? or experiences?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think there are a few key levers, and like one of being the market conditions. Like if you're going after, if you're operating in a market that has direct competition, and there is an existing need for the product and use case, I think that is a positive for PLG, given you don't need to do the market education and like invest a lot of in content creation and marketing to make the name there. And then another point is like how complex is the selling process, and usually this is correlated with ACV, but how fast you can get those end users to the value point. And I think Zoom is a beautiful example, and I think overused, but it's literally seconds when you get to the value point. And another key point from my standpoint is if your product has fundamental virality, that definitely has that kind of like multiplier effect on getting that flywheel to spin. And as a last point, like if the product has daily or weekly usage, there's the multiplier for the flywheel to spin faster. But also I think like if I take a step back and think about the first point, the market conditions, if you're a software company that is creating a new category or like bringing a new product for a kind of like unexisting use case yet, and doing that kind of like market education, even then I just think it's more of a matter of timing when you could or should even implement the PLG strategy, because that initial push that the market needs to be educated about the product and the use cases and the problems, after you have created the category, then I think that it's more optimal for actually going after that market with PLG driven go-to-market strategy.
Yeah. So was that the case? Like, do those things ring a bell at your end, Jaakko?
Yes, certainly. So as I mentioned before about bringing outbound sales later, like in the beginning when it was fully no-touch model and product onboarding happened with intercom messages and then a bit of manual support work, our average revenue per account were at, on a monthly level, like $70, roughly on that level. And if that's understandably too low to have too much sales involvement when selling on that price, roughly like 1K ACVs. Then we did some work on with our pricing together with the product team to get some a bit higher tiers, not too much, but still serving the SMB B2B sides, kind of like pricing ranges. And with the inbound touch where a salesperson is involved, the ACV was basically double to the no touch. And then later on, when we brought outbound, it was triple to the no touch. And this, why PLG is important to lead feeder is what Teemu also mentioned in the beginning, is that not all people or millennials, for example, want to discuss with a salesperson. They want to get their hands onto the product on their own. You need to have a channel for them to do it on their own if they want to. So we can have a salesperson there when we have a signal that it makes sense to then suggest to have maybe like premium customer success manager packages or other things like that. But those we need to be heavily assessed by looking at your LTV, CAC, and payback rates to make sense that it's worth the investment, because we couldn't do outbound sales with like 1K ACVs, but with 3K, 2.5K ACVs, it started to make sense already if we sell annual deals. That was another thing that we started pushing more with the product and pricing, is that we wanted to create a channel where we are able to bring more annual deals in, even though we still want to allow monthly payments for most of these self-service clients.
Okay, so I mean, let's look under the hood a little bit. Tell us what you can. How does PLG and the traditional sales-led model live alongside. Does it cause any friction on whose customer is it supposed to be? Does the product sell itself, or does sales people get involved? You said that when you get a signal, how does it look like in real life? Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's so our inbound team is basically heavily involved with product marketing and inbound sales team. They all aim towards the same revenue goal, also the marketing and product side. So basically, they all are aiming towards the same goal. And then at the same time, we separate no touch and touch pool, basically with our lead scoring model. And maybe one of the interesting parts here is that how, for example, it doesn't cause friction if the product steals one trial from the inbound sales team is that our inbound sales team doesn't work with a commission model. So they have a flat salary, whereas our outbound sales has a base and a commission model more traditionally. So this inbound sales team is more like a consultancy onboarding service team that work with the flat fee, and they care about the whole inbound pool, although they have individual targets, of course, but still there's not too much friction if you go a bit under or lower. It's like a team effort there. So that's the biggest deal. And then obviously in our internal systems, we can identify when a trial sign up comes in, that was it from somebody in the outbound team. So do we have an existing deal in our CRM, for example, from that, and then we channel that to that person. If it comes from a target market, from inbound channel, and if it's from a bigger company with certain size sales team and website traffic, then it gets served to the inbound sales team automatically. So I think those things are there that help that it doesn't cause friction. Of course, sometimes, so we are serving Europe and US. US is 1/3 of our business. It's a bit different market than Europe, of course. US has some specific needs coming up more and more that in Europe it doesn't. For example, user access rights, these kinds of things that the US kind of sales mentality needs, that they are not stealing lead feeder leads from one to another, for example. Salesforce integration needs to be much more deeper than in Europe in general. So then it's a discussion that do we prioritize those kinds of feature developments in our product because we want to go faster to the US market with outbound model, for example, where we know that these features will come up and we will need these to be able to make successful sales there. But yeah, not too much friction, but I think if the inbound team would be on a base plus commission model, there might be some cases where people wouldn't be too happy. That's always something that I think about to how to get the best out of it overall. But I look at it on a team level too, and total revenue level, that what makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you, Teemu, have you seen like what does the world look like from your point of view if you're looking at a lot of companies who have both? And maybe an add-on question, because of your fondness of the PLG, are you sometimes advising to drop SLG altogether?
Not, I mean, how would I put it? Like, it's not abandoning sales. It's more putting product as the fundamental part of the go-to-market strategy, and I think there like it's a really relevant question, like when to do the shift and when are kind of like the optimal conditions to do it if you decide to do it, and that actually has been one of the key questions that I'm trying to develop my thinking more, given, let's say, like we are a Series A stage investor, and usually at the Series A stage there is like the key success levers to get to Series B and to the next threshold is to double down on the channels that are really working and really being focused on the go-to-market. So introducing a completely new go-to-market strategy, like somewhere in between Series A and Series B, I'm still debating if that's the optimal timing to do it. But let's say for pre-Series A or just after Series B, like after Series B, you just have more resources, and one of the benefits is that or like one of the focus points is that you start trying out new market segments and new channels and new go-to-market strategies. So it's kind of like a more natural part or like timing to potentially do the shift. But also with like a pre-Series A stage, because you are not fully kind of like putting the pedal to the metal on the channel and scaling the sales teams and so on. So that might be also a bit more optimal compared to just at the Series A stage, when the business continuity risk is still somewhat high and definitely higher compared to at Series B stage and at that scale. So it really depends on the situation. And I think there are like few really interesting companies and success like that have done that shift successfully. I think HubSpot being the number one example of these more established ones, and there are other ones like VDR did it in RapidMiner and MongoDB. But if I think about the HubSpot, and I had a chat with Kieran Flanagan, who was the VP of marketing there a few weeks ago, and he mentioned as a like really brief summary on the kind of like the key learnings and the key focus points when they did the change is that really setting up these cross-functional teams and having super clear SLAs for each of these teams, so that there is no mismatch between should the conversion team do something that the activation team is doing. So like really being clear which team is responsible for which like target KPIs within that end user buying journey. Another key point what he mentioned was that just being like focused on max 2 or 1 to 2 like growth topics or initiatives than like spreading yourself thinly among like 5 or 10 different topics. So really just having the like 1 or 2 key growth initiatives and having that C-level commitment that we're gonna put a lot of resources for these 2, and then finding the results as fast as possible. But there is another more earlier stage company as well that I know, like Vendesta, which did this shift, and the background there was that they wanted to cater this, like they wanted to expand to the SMB market, which they couldn't with their existing customer acquisition model, and they just saw a like really attractive market segment there, and they wanted to go after it. Another kind of like similar point was that just setting up these cross-functional teams, and the first team was like that growth team to focus on the conversion with the free trial and so on, but ultimately setting up these cross-functional teams. Another point that she mentioned was that just having this kind of change leadership from the C-level or from the founder level team behind that shift, given there is a bit of like cultural element to it, and experimentation and like getting to learnings fast is highlighted, and that might be different type of mindset compared to where the companies were before. And their result was also like really good. Like I think they were able to decrease their CAC by 30% and double the conversion, and getting really good growth results. But yeah, to wrap, the question is really like, if you have the nice like flexibility in terms of being a VC-backed company and like not doing it in the middle of Series A and Series B, but maybe just after the fundraise when you have a bit more of that strategic flexibility. I think I'm getting to that point that might be the optimal stage to do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I mean, the ones you mentioned really got it right. What have you seen examples of where it went wrong. What went wrong, and did they back out or did they refine? And maybe after that, we circle back to Jaakko. Surely your PLG trip was not all successes. So maybe some of the learnings also would be really interesting to hear from how you fine-tuned your PLG. But let's start with what you've seen in the market so far, Teemu, on the not so great successes, and what was the cause? I mean, how can people identify this is not working for me?
No, for sure. I mean, I wouldn't name any like
Oh, come on.
Failures or anything. I'd like to be honest, I don't know those because people are experimenting as we speak and doing these shifts. But overall, from the conversations that I have had, I know that the key challenges that I thought of, like one is actually it's just having that C-level commitment and that founder level commitment that this is a big change or shift within the organization that we're going to do, and we are fully on board with the shift. And if you don't have that, it's difficult for let's say manager or VP level person to just like fight through that shift without the commitment. And as mentioned, the culture of experimenting, so that requires, from my standpoint, bit like change leadership and leadership from the I would say founder level people, and maybe other ones. Yeah, this is one thing is that I think some companies, when they think about doing the shift, they might underestimate what is required from the software stack perspective and how to basically get to the end users with a really personalized experience. So that requires, at least from like how I think about it, like really unified data platform where you have this like product engagement level behavioral data coming, like combined with firmographic and demographic data and CRM data in order to do that really personalized end user like onboarding flow and having like getting the potential at least to get those plus 60, 70 NPS as user experiences. So it requires a bit of thinking how to combine what is the stack behind. And also relatedly, I think one point is this capabilities to do this omni-channel experience. So if I'm dropping out from the funnel or from the onboarding flow on a website and I'm just checking with my mobile, like I should get exactly to the same point where I dropped out, and that is not a easy task to basically build into the onboarding flow, but it's kind of like needed from like how I think about it. And another interesting point is just like customer support becomes quite crucial. Like it becomes the first touch point with the customers. So like when introducing free trial and freemium. So from that point of view, like what are the SLAs that we need to put for our customer support team, and yeah, what are the SLA levels and how to scale that customer support that we are able to serve those end users, which usually grows at like whatever, like 2x, 3x, even 5x or 10x compared to the existing ones. But yeah, I mean those are the key challenges that I have seen based on the conversation that I have had.
Very good, Jaakko.
Yeah, if I look back in time, what could we done better? Like one example was that the inbound driven model, like it was restricted by how much marketing can do basically, because there wasn't any outbound operation. Like obviously then there is how the product can create referrals and those things, but they still go back to the marketing pool. So basically we were trying to grow that, but instead of just relying on one channel, that's why we decided to do outbound later on. So I think like what I would do differently is I would do that earlier. I think we ran with inbound purely like for first years. For that to happen, the pricing should be also more granular. It was pretty simple pricing in the beginning, just with the lead amounts I would go much earlier to like feature-based pricing, that our product could still self-serve, but also that we could bring these other channels that would solidify the outbound costs that are associated with that. So I think those are the things. In the inbound team, I think we kind of always had an idea of this sub team that Teemu is talking about, where there might be marketing, sales, and product people involved in the same team. So we kind of have that, but we didn't nail it down early on. It was kind of out there. We might have had like monthly meetings, but it never built up into like a full blown team that it is now. So I think that some lessons learned, like marketing looked heavily on the trial sign up phase, that how many signups do we get, and then it went to product and sales, whereas now it's sales is a bit outside of the trial start, and marketing is a bit more inside to the trial all the way to the purchase and even further, of course. And then product takes care of the middle place, and support serves everything under all of those. So now like what we are thinking, for example, is that our smaller client base, which we call tier 4 clients, that we would build another sub team around just those self-service clients, where support team members, part of them would be part of that tier together with the product team, and then they think with the marketing that how do we bring more of these, and how do we serve them in with soft or like very low touches or no touch, and how do we then get them to be clients, and how do we mitigate the churn with for example this Lead Feeder Academy, so that we don't serve these smaller clients to our customer success managers, but they can go to our academy and watch videos and learn from there. So how do we also manage that part? So I think those are the things that we could have done better.
Yeah, and thanks for the segue here into marketing. How does marketing tie into all of this? They're supposed to serve both the product-led and sales-led growth models and people. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I think one of the main changes too that happened since we also have now CMO Andy on board, is that we really made the marketing team also be focusing on the revenue growth and not number of signups, as an example. So the whole team is looking at the end of the funnel, and also some of the marketing team members have a churn target, basically, that they need to think, how can we mitigate churn when somebody becomes a client? So I think in that sense, like making certain teams responsible a bit more of other areas. So like, for example, the sales team, when they hand over client to customer success, that the handover really is done and the certain things happen there. And in a similar manner in marketing side, being basically responsible of revenue targets, if it's in the no touch pool or touched pool in the inbound channel, or with an account-based marketing support for the outbound team. So basically we have these both. So we have marketing supporting the outbound in the ABM model, and then we have an inbound team that focuses more around the product onboarding and the sign-up flow. So basically marketing team meets with the product onboarding, product managers, and the tech team to make that flow work the best.
Great. I want to be mindful of the time, so let's try to do another 5 minutes and then dive into the questions of the audience. Please go ahead and do as Martin here and submit your question in Q&A. But Teemu, I sensed a non-verbal hand raising on marketing as well from you. So what is your take on marketing in relation to PLG and SLG? Definitely not separate, but how do you see that?
Yeah, like definitely. I mean, it's a crucial part for both, and it's. I think Jaakko put it quite well. Like what they have done at Leadfeeder, that having that kind of like cross-functional team that has part of product and tech to optimize on that specific growth target that they have, or however you want to build that growth target at the company that you're operating in. But like from my standpoint, it's the key pillar for the acquisition team, and then part of marketing people can be, and like it should be from my standpoint in each of the other teams, like conversion and expansion and the other ones. So and like from more high level, like the successful PLG examples, the Zooms of the world and Slacks and so on, they are the main channel for them was the like product, like the organic channel driven by product virality, and marketing definitely, like it's a multiplier effect for how to support that organic channel and how to especially put more resources on the customer marketing side and find find that user success through marketing efforts. But if I were to compare then to the more traditional sales and marketing led, there is this cross-functional element as mentioned, but also spreading the team more around customer success and end user success. Yeah, the key, maybe the key focus point difference is the end user versus the buyer.
Yeah, got it. Good one. The last topic, I mean, we'll be running a separate session on pricing in PLG in August, but still I'm going to touch on one question. Maybe Jaakko, I'm going to pick on you. Aren't you afraid that there's money left on the table, that the product is not able to extract the max value from the customer, in comparison that a salesperson is sniffing, the optimal point here? What's your view on that?
Yeah, I'd like to say that I always look at the numbers, but once you reach like healthy channels, then you obviously start to think that how to grow faster, and then that comes to mind. I think it's a scary thought is if sales starts controlling the product too much, that we start bringing all the features based on some needs that we think are out there. So rather to bring the features from our current customers and what they do need, instead of saying what the competition is doing. Like I said, if I would be scared of that, then we wouldn't have all of these teams together. So that's why we have pretty intelligent system how we filter out that some go to no touch pool, some go to inbound sales pool, some go through outbound channel. And if we identify this sign up is a marketing agency, it goes to the marketing agency team, basically, that then brings more referrals. Yeah, it's a tough question, but I think you can always see it from the numbers, that how healthy are these channels. Like if the LTV CAC ratios work and the payback time is good, is it enough to grow as fast as we want to? And then I think the thinking is there. But I still think that by having such a big focus in the self-service model in the beginning with our product has definitely helped, because for outbound sales it's very easy to then sell extra features on top of a working flow, whereas if the product flow would be not working, that could cause some issues in the sales side later on.
Good. I saw some hesitation there. Good stuff. So one more to Teemu, and then we move to the questions from the audience. Teemu, you are definitely sold on PLG. Do you actually value companies differently if they have a full-blown PLG? I mean, value in like pure valuation terms. Does this affect that?
I wouldn't like on that level. I would like to always come back to the fundamentals. So PLG is a way to actually grow at or above benchmark rates throughout the life cycle of a company. There are successful examples of that. And also for those like really stellar unit economics, which allows for more like strategic flexibility and longer term product investment, or like just going aggressively after specific market segments. But also it's just really challenging to do this type of like a plus whatever 60 70 NPS product with functioning PLG go-to-market strategy. So all those things, like on a high level, they come back to higher growth, better unit economics, and better defensibility of the business, and more strategic flexibility in terms of you just have more resources to invest in more longer term initiatives, and all those are contributing positively to the value of the business. So in that sense, it's a really intriguing and exciting strategy to potentially significantly increase the valuation of a company, especially at the early stages. Yeah.
So it's more of an one tool in toolbox, and you know, to contribute to the bigger goal, which you then evaluate.
Yeah, the fundamentals are kind of like the same. Like if you have strong unit economics and scalable channels and growing fast, so those are the two key aspects where and the defensibility where PLG could contribute to.
Yeah. Okay, great. Great stuff. So let's jump into the Q&A part from the audience. So I'm going to hear, we have 4 at the moment. More are welcome if will be, but we try to wrap this up in about 10 minutes so that we are within the promised 1 hour. So from a metrics perspective, what are the top few KPIs that indicate that that PLG is being executed well? Yes, this could go for either one of you. Who wants to take a first stab?
Yeah, like, well, from our side, it's trial to paid conversion rate that then like all sorts of KPIs lie under that. Basically, if I go a bit deeper, you need a tracker to use our product. So we track what is the tracker installation day rate, and then like what is the product adoption rate, where we have some key indicators for that. So I think like those are from the product onboarding perspective, the main numbers we look at, and then of course net churn is one thing. So I could answer at the same time that if marketing is somehow responsible of churn, what is the role of customer success? So product is mainly responsible of churn. I'd say like 60%, customer success maybe 40%, because sometimes or most of the time it's about the product. Customer success can help a lot with renewal rates. We track also the onboarding rate from the customer success perspective, and their marketing can have a responsibility around, for example, tier 4 churn mitigation with these external things that we do outside of the product, like a lead feeder academy or other like help center things that we can also track the success there too. So that's kind of like from my side.
Similar thoughts here. I think conversion is key. Like if you're showing, let's say plus 10% or like above 7% unassisted conversion from free to paid, that is definitely exciting. And the basic kind of like growth metrics of growing above 10%, 15% month on month, and significant share coming from organic channels. That is also that is exciting for me. And last point that I have been pushing quite a lot already, but NPS it's such a crucial metric for PLG companies. So having that plus 50, 60 NPS is a really exciting point for me, at least. So.
Yeah. Good. Let's move on to the next one. So actually, I'm going to take one from Simo here because it's slightly touched on what you said earlier, Jaakko. If marketing is somehow responsible for churn, I think you might have said something in that direction. I don't know if you mean customer selection or those academic things. What is the role of customer success? How is the responsibility split between these two? Yeah. So who do you appropriate blame if somebody churns? Is success going to say that, hey, marketing, you started with the wrong people to start with?
Yeah, like I said, that marketing can help with net churn. So like upsell things together with account managers in a certain tier, for example. Like the CS lead together with, of course, me and CMO like have like a churn KPI, and then product, of course, tracks the total net churn levels. But then underneath that, there is, for example, for the small clients, tier 4s can be tracked through marketing and product because it's fully no touch channel, as an example. So what kind of trials are we bringing in? If they become clients, then how do we get them up and running as quickly as possible with low effort too? And there, like we can track, for example, that if we bring to Academy certain articles or videos, did this user watch these and how many times out of these who churned, for example. So we can track these things, that did they have an effect or not. Of course, we always track churn reason, so we know what was the issue when they did churn. It's always debatable, but still, like it's heavily dependent on the product too. CS team can help a lot, but when there certain needs are not met, then it's about the product. But it's still a target for the CS team too. But they have, for example, other main targets, that what is the 30-day onboarding rate, so how many new customers do they onboard, what is the 90-day onboarding rate, and then in bigger client tiers, other targets, and then renewal rate is owned by CSMs. So I would say that early churn is usually more of the product side, and then like later on it goes to the CS team, especially in annual deals.
Yeah. Makes sense. The next one for Teemu on the adopting of PLG and whether you should be considering or the target customer size and verticals. Like if you only have 100 customers, you can call them all. So any guidelines on when PLG is something you should look for in regards of like target customer sizes or verticals? I don't know if you can already set definite numbers, but give it a stab.
If I understood correctly, like what are there any characteristics of the end customers that affect the decision to shift to PLG?
Yeah, I think, and also that what is a big enough target customer size that you should have the product do the selling instead of calling the majority of your maybe smaller customer segment. Actually, can you see the Q&A? Maybe by reading it, you can like get to the gist of what our anonymous attendee means.
I mean, like for PLG, like you can definitely go after the one-man shops as well. So there's no size limit from that side. But like, to be honest, I'm not sure if I understood the question completely, but let me try to talk a little bit around that. So like from the end customer size perspective, or verticals that are really concentrated on few large enterprises, then I mean, like, maybe this might be a bit too obvious, but then it's not that meaningful, or it's not the most optimal strategy to go after those clients with PLG strategy, given relationships and more sales driven approach is just more valued, and it's better way to connect with the prospects and hopefully get them over the line. So and referring a little bit back what I said earlier is that the complexity of the sales process is a key factor. Like the lower the complexity of the sales process, the easier, like the faster you can get end users to the value point, the better suitable, or the more suitable is PLG for those type of products, and usually that correlates with the ACV. So, but there are examples of enterprises that have done this shift, or like expanded to the enterprise segment with PLG. And I think I mean, maybe Zoom is a overused example, but there's this beautiful example from their S1 that over 50% of their above 100K ACV clients started as one single non-paying user. So it's just a beautiful illustration of well-functioning PLG that allows you to expand to the enterprise segment as well. I'm not sure if I answered the question, but so let me know.
Yeah, maybe the person can ask a follow-on if it wasn't fully answered. And the final one, just in time, do any of you guys have you experience with Reforge PLG growth strategy framework? What a monster of a word. So Teemu, anything on that?
No, I know Reforge, and that is I couldn't recommend it enough. Like it's super, like really good content, and I want to do the program at some point as well. But I unfortunately I don't have any specifics. What is the Reforge PLG strategy or the framework? So I cannot unfortunately comment like what would be the best takeaway from that framework. So. But maybe if the person can elaborate on that, I'm so happy to try to give my comments, unless Jaakko has views.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing than with you, that I've heard about the framework but haven't or don't know enough deeply about it to have exact opinions. So if Jacob wants to follow up later on in LinkedIn or somewhere, then happy to discuss.
Okay, excellent. We got to the end of our session. Thank you so much, guests, for taking the time, and thank you for all the audience to participate. I know, like, you have so many webinars to attend and so many panels. So, we thought of a bit of differentiation here. That's why we didn't call this a webinar. We called it a talk, and we didn't have a panel. We had guests. So, there you go. Not too many of those, I guess, yet. Thank you all, and we'll be back with something new in PLG later. Stay tuned and have a great stormy Wednesday, I guess.
Or Tuesday.
Or Tuesday could also be. Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.